Sophia Koetsier walked to the bathroom. She was gone for a moment and she hasn't been found since. Uganda, October 2015, dusk in one of Africa's most beautiful national parks. Sophia, 21, Dutch, a newly qualified doctor, steps away from her friends for 2 minutes. Those friends are on the phone to her mother, 4,000 miles away in Amsterdam, telling her they're worried. Her mum is still on the line when the guide walks over and asks, "Have you seen Sophia?" Rangers are searching within 15 minutes. They never find her. Nobody does. Not the helicopters, sniffer dogs, drones, her own mother, who has spent 10 years crossing the world looking for her daughter. All that's ever found is a bizarre scene that doesn't look like an accident. In fact, it didn't even look real. This is the case of Sophia Koetsier. Sophia was born in Amsterdam in December 1993. She grew up there and learned to play the piano. Her family have written about how the piano at home has stayed silent ever since she vanished. Sophia was bright, warm, adventurous and driven. By the summer of 2015 had her Bachelor of Medicine. Ugandan press coverage of the case calls her Dr. Koetsier. Her ambition was tropical medicine. She dreamed of becoming a surgeon, so at the end of August 2015, 21 years old, she flew to Kampala for an 8-week placement at a local hospital, arranged through a student exchange program, and she thrived. She rang home constantly, full of the country, the people, the culture and work. Her mother actually flew out in mid-October and they spent time together in Kampala just 2 weeks before she vanished. Sophia lived with bipolar disorder, diagnosed in her teens. Millions of people manage this condition and live full lives, and so did she. Through medical school, through the internship, she was, by her family's account, stable and well. But bipolar disorder can involve manic episodes, and her family have explained that for Sophia, the known triggers were exactly the things a long adventure can bring: exhaustion, broken sleep, and overstimulation. Her internship ended in late October. She wasn't ready to go home, so she joined 2 fellow Dutch students and a local guide for a 2-week tour of Uganda's national parks. A celebration trip, a last adventure before real life began. Somewhere on that trip, the people around Sophia started to notice she was changing. Her friends later described it as behaviour that grew stranger day by day as the sleep drained out of her. There was one night at a wildlife park earlier in the tour when they woke to find her simply gone. And when she reappeared, she explained she'd spent part of the night alone in a lookout tower. She'd set herself a kind of mission, she told them, a challenge, to survive a night out there in the African bush alone. To her worried friends, that was alarming, escalating behaviour. And at the very same time, Sophia herself could feel something happening. That same evening, she messaged a friend back in the Netherlands. In that message, she said she was worried about her lack of sleep, that there was too much stimulation, that she just wanted to be alone. She knew. Somewhere inside her, there was a gathering storm. She knew she possibly needed help, and it is one of the saddest details in this entire case. According to testimony given years after, during one of the stops in the national park, a tourism official became concerned enough about Sophia's state that, as the prosecution later put it, warnings were given that she should be taken for medical help. The trip, however, carried on. I'm not here to assign blame for that. In 2015, in the middle of nowhere, with a young woman who was an adult, a doctor, and adamant she was fine, I genuinely don't know what I would have done. Her friends were so concerned that they had already decided to phone her parents. But it means the question that haunts this case was being asked before she even vanished. This young woman is in trouble. Who is going to stop the trip? Who's going to pull that trigger and say, Sophia needs help? On the morning of the 28th of October, the group reached Murchison's Fall National Park and took a boat safari up the Nile. There were hippos in the shallows, crocodiles on the banks, the falls thundering in the distance. And from that boat, Sophia phoned her mum. And according to her family, she sounded excited, calm even, happy. It was the last time her mother would ever hear her daughter's voice. Her friends, though, saw a different picture on that boat. Sophia fidgeting with the vessel's equipment, spending long stretches shut in the toilet. By the time they docked, the decision was made. Tonight, we ring her parents. They never got to finish the call. At around 6 p.m, the group checked in at the Uganda Wildlife Authority's student centre accommodation inside the park. Before night fell, Sophia walked towards the nearby bathroom block. Her friends took their chance and phoned Amsterdam. And while Sophia's mother was actually on the line, hearing for the first time how worried the girls were, the guide appeared and asked whether anyone had seen Sophia. A mother 4,000 miles away, listening in real time as concern turned into alarm, turned into the worst night of her life. The response, in fairness, was fast. Rangers from the Ugandan Wildlife Authority were searching within about 15 minutes. It became, by Ugandan press accounts, one of the most extensive search operations in the park's history. Rangers and local communities on the ground, a police helicopter overhead, sniffer dogs on the scent. Within a week, Dutch police had joined, bringing a drone. Her mother also flew out immediately. You have to also understand what they were searching. Murchison Falls is magnificent and it is lethal. The Nile there is full of hippos, the most dangerous large animal in Africa, and enormous crocodiles. The bush holds lions, leopards, hyenas. Every instinct, every ranger's experience said that a young woman alone at dusk in that park was in terrible danger from nature itself. That was everyone's first, entirely reasonable assumption. The first find came the next morning, a plastic bottle, one Sophia used for her rubbish, near the riverbank some 600 yards from the accommodation. So she had, it seemed, walked to the river. And then came the second day, and this is where the case stops being a wilderness tragedy and becomes something else. On the following day, searchers returned to that same stretch of riverbank, ground that had already been searched, and just a few yards from where the bottle had been found, they now found more. Strips of fabric torn from Sophia's trousers, apparently tied to branches. Her underwear hanging high in a tree, and it's been reported her shoes, found not sodden, not chewed, but clean and dry. Now walk through the explanations with me, one by one, the way investigators had to, because every single one of them snags. A wild animal attack, a lion, leopard, hyena, crocodile at the water's edge. It was the first assumption, and reportedly the theory on which Ugandan police initially closed the case. But there was no blood. Not on the ground, not on the clothing, no drag marks near the bathrooms or at the riverbank. Predators are many things, but they are not tidy. And no animal ties strips of fabric to branches or places underwear high in a tree. The river then. A later official report concluded she had likely gone into the Nile, fallen or been taken by an animal at the bank and drowned. And in a state of mania, a swim in that river at dusk is horribly imaginable. But again, the clothes, the tree, the dry shoes, a drowning does not undress on a branch 6 feet up. And there's a harder question still, and it's the one that changed her mother's understanding of this case. Why wasn't any of it found on day one? That ground had been searched. The bottle was found there on the first morning. The clothing appeared in essentially the same spot a day later. Either exhausted searchers missed it, which happens genuinely even to good teams, or sometime in between, someone put it there. Her mother has said publicly in a 2023 interview that from the start she had a strong sense that things were not right, and that Dutch police officers she consulted looked at the scene and told her it appeared manipulated, staged. And then there's the DNA. The family arranged for Sophia's recovered clothing to be examined by an independent laboratory reported to be in the United States, and on her belongings, that analysis found an unknown male DNA profile, one that, according to the family, could not be matched to the Ugandan police or to members of the search party. It has never been identified. It has never led to a charge, but it is there, an unexplained man in the fibres of a missing woman's clothes. I want to be very careful here because this is an open case and a real family. That DNA does not prove a crime. Transfer can happen in ways nobody intends, and this evidence has never been tested in any court. But you can see, can't you, why Sophia's mother came to believe that foul play cannot be ruled out. What her family have done since is one of the most extraordinary parts of this story. They founded a charity to fund what the systems wouldn't. When Sophia's own travel insurer, whose policy explicitly covered a search operation, declined in 2016 to guarantee the costs, the family fundraised and sent a search team to Uganda anyway, led by a forensic pathologist. The team came home without her. Her mother has kept going back, by her own account, again and again, trip after trip, year after year. In 2020, she sat down with the president of Uganda himself, who agreed the investigation should be reopened. It formally resumed in 2022. And then, nearly 10 years after Sophia vanished, this case finally produced a criminal trial. And I need to explain it precisely because precision is the only fair way to do it. The man who had been the group's guide was charged, not with harming Sophia, but with having operated as a tour guide without a license back in 2015. At the hearings, the prosecution also contended that warnings to get Sophia medical help had been disregarded. But in September of 2025, the Director of Public Prosecutions withdrew the case entirely, and the family's own foundation explained why. It had emerged that a tour guide license was not actually a legal requirement in Uganda until 2019. He was discharged, and I want to say this plainly. That man has never been charged with hurting Sophia, and nothing in this episode should be taken as suggesting he did. So where does that leave the case right now as I record this? Open. Genuinely open. October 2025 marked 10 years with fresh coverage in the Ugandan and British press, and her family still working, still funding, still asking. Ugandan wildlife officials have noted that Sophia is the first recorded case of a visitor to that park simply vanishing without a trace. A decade on, there is no body, no confirmed sighting, no answer. So let me do what I always try to do with an unsolved case. Lay the options side by side, each with its problems attached, and refuse to pretend that I know the answer. Door 1. Nature. Sophia, in a manic state, walked to the river in the dying light, perhaps to swim, perhaps on another mission like her night in the lookout tower, and the Nile or something in it took her. It fits the park, it fits her state of mind, and it's what official conclusions lean towards. Its problems. No blood, no drag marks, no remains ever found despite one of the biggest searches in the park's history, and above all, a scene of tied fabric, treed underwear, and reportedly dry shoes that nature simply does not produce. Door 2. Misadventure plus mania, with the scene explained innocently. Perhaps Sophia herself, in psychosis, tore and tied and placed her own clothing. Manic episodes can produce profoundly irrational behaviour, and then went into the water. It would reconcile the strange scene with an accident. Its problems. It requires the first day's search to have missed everything in a small, already searched area, and it does nothing to explain an unknown man's DNA on her belongings. Door 3. A human being. Someone encountered a vulnerable, disorientated young woman alone at dusk, and the riverbank scene was arranged afterwards, overnight, to write animal attack or drowning over whatever really happened. It's the reading her mother's police contacts reached. It fits the 24-hour gap and the DNA. Its problems are the biggest of all: no suspect, no witness, no body, and no charge ever brought against anyone for harming her. It is a door with nothing but darkness behind it. I'm not sure which door is the true one. 10 years of investigation across 2 continents hasn't been sure either. What I am sure of is this: she was probably taken by an animal, is what was written on this case within days, and the evidence never actually earned that sentence. Sophia's family have spent a decade refusing to accept an answer that doesn't fit the facts, and on the facts, they're right to refuse. 2 last things, and they matter more than the mystery. The first is about the illness in this story. Sophia didn't vanish because she had bipolar disorder. She vanished while she was acutely unwell in a remote place, surrounded by people who cared about her but didn't know what a psychiatric emergency looks like or what to do with one. If you take one practical thing from tonight, take this: mania is a medical emergency, not embarrassing, not a mood, not something to push through until the itinerary allows. An emergency, like a broken leg, except it tells its owner it isn't there. If someone you're travelling with stops sleeping, stops making sense, starts taking strange risks, the trip is over. Get them help. Sophia, the doctor, half knew it herself. She wrote that she was worried about her own sleep and her own overstimulated mind. The people around her were hours from making the right phone call. They just weren't given those hours. The second is that this case, unusually for this channel, is one you can actually do something about. Sophia's family run the Find Sophia Foundation at findsophia.org. A Dutch NGO has offered a reward of €10,000 for the decisive tip that leads to Sophia's whereabouts, and her family have said they will increase that amount. They believe that somebody in Uganda, or somebody who was travelling through Uganda in October 2015, knows something, saw something on that riverbank, heard something in the years since. Answers have surfaced after longer than a decade before. They can again. Sophia Koetsier would be in her 30s now. She should be a tropical medicine specialist somewhere, a surgeon maybe, or delivering babies the way she planned. There should be music in a house in Amsterdam. Instead, there is a silent piano, a mother who keeps flying south, and a riverbank that has never given up what it knows. That was the case of Sophia Koetsier. If you know anything at all, the links are in the description. As always, if you like my content, please remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and you can find my podcast wherever you listen. Take care of each other and press the notification button so that you can join us next time.